few manuals that I would assume that most Jags are automatic, but there's quite a few manuals from including the V12s, wasn't there?
350 manual V12s. They're the unicorn cars. If you can get one of those now, that's the one to do. So that would be my tip. If you're looking for an early XJS, get a manual gearbox car. You probably will. It's a good investment proposition. The later one, the 3.6 and the 4 litres, I think there was sort of 8,000 built. But there aren't really many of them left now, and certainly the sport pack cars, they tend to be the really, really rare ones. We're probably down to 150, 200. And I think the gearboxes have been taken out and used in other things because it's the same gearbox that was in various BMWs. So I think they've been robbed out. And it's that classic thing where a lot of old Jags just end up in the scrapyard. So got to do your bit to keep it on the road and keep it going.
Yeah, gone through that period where people sort of stopped to care so much, and now they're obviously on the way back up and becoming like hen's teeth, some of the parts.
I think so. I think, a few years back you could get a serviceable XJS for £1,000. I think those days are long gone. And as we've been chatting, it's getting some of the bits, and because if it needs replacing, trying to find another one is almost impossible, because there's a reason that they need replacing, and they need replacing on all of them. So things like headlights, for example, really difficult to get hold of. Anti-lock brake switches, really hard to get hold of. So you've just got to hope that you don't have any breakages and problems. It was like the wiper motor that went in this. I got the very, very last new old stock one available anywhere in the UK. So it is just that sort of thing, but I think that's the same for any old car. It is always going to be finding bits. Tyres, crazy thing. You want to buy the P600 tyre, they're probably £400 a corner now. So everything's just starting to get that little bit more expensive as they start to appreciate and start to gain a little bit of value.
You obviously do the work yourself, or a lot of the work yourself on it, which is good.
I'd be lying if I said I do the difficult stuff myself. I'm not great. I have more enthusiasm than technical ability, shall we say. But you're right. Yeah, I think eBay is the old car owner's friend, isn't it? And you can pick up some amazing bargains if you're lucky. And that's it. You've just got to be a bit careful about how you scour for parts, because buying everything new, or where you can find it, or as a reproduction part, is so expensive. It would just make it unviable for a lot of people to keep them going. And these aren't bad. I mean, it's like MG, Jaguar. You've got a good specialist network. With people like S&G Barrett, David Manners, and most of the stuff that they get, it's really, really inexpensive. So when I recommissioned and did the rear axle, what they call the cage, because it's got inboard disc brakes at the back, so I had to have new ones. It's amazing. You get the new rotors, and you'll open the package, and it'll say E-Type, XJS, DB7, and you think, oh, I'm going to pay fortunes for that, and it might be £20 a side, for a brake disc. I think if you were doing that for Aston Martin or for Ferrari, for example, or Porsche, those bits are going to be a lot more expensive.
Yeah. So you do get some specialists that make it a bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, there are bits that you think, well, why is no one reproducing that yet? Because they all go. Headlamps, absolute classic. You can't buy the Sibi headlamp. That's why most of them you see that have had their headlamps done have got the US.
Oh, the twin.
The twin pods, because they're a lot easier to do. Personally, I'm not a fan. For me, everything I'm doing on this car is all about originality. It's about taking it back to absolutely as it should be. I mean, for example, I've got a replacement head unit. But I've got the original Clarion Jaguar branded head unit.
So you can.
But I haven't got any cassettes, so I've left the sort of the mid-2000s CD player in there for now. But I will put the original one back in.
It's nice to have that. Yeah. Did you ever think about a convertible version?
Funnily enough, I'd like an early, one of the very first V12 versions, same as this, on the pre-facelift bumpers, the cross spokes. But it seems to me that the valuable ones always tend to be the later cars, the post facelift, what I call the Ford era cars. And I don't like the styling of those. I think it's a bit fussy. But everyone goes, oh, you must get a late model celebration. And interestingly, I did try a 4-litre manual coupe, a 94 on the M car, so one of the very, very last ones. Very rare car. But it actually didn't drive as well as this.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, it probably needed a load of suspension work, and I was just a bit disappointed with it. And the condition of it, superficially, it was really good. And it looked like someone had spent a lot of money on it, and I think it had gone through auction for quite a bit of money. But it just didn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the styling.
No.
Because it was sort of rounded off,
yeah.
And it was trying to look like something it's not. This for me it's an old car.
Yeah, and this was the pure version of it.
It is, and do you know what? It's probably because it's the one that I grew up with, and I think that's maybe the version that you tend to go for.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, saying that, I would love a pre-HE manual car.
Yeah, I love the way they named the V12 the high efficiency.
I think it's all relative, though, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah, I suppose 12 to 20 mpg is pretty impressive.
Yeah. I can remember my father having them, and you had the old green button computer, and you'd stick it on when it was cold and you're accelerating. You'd get it down to 1 mile to the gallon.
It's quite a fun game, I bet. Well, I've played a similar game trying to get it to as high as possible.
Yeah, never the other way around. But yeah, I mean, the reality is, this is 400 miles to a tank full. The V12, you really are struggling to get 300 miles.
Yeah.
And that's on a 90-litre tank as well. So it's not cheap.
Yeah, I suppose they're quite a bit heavier as well.
I think you're probably right. I think there's probably about 250 kilos in it. And that's why we were talking about it. And actually, in accelerative terms, certainly up to about 80 or 90 miles an hour, a manual XJS probably would keep an auto V12 honest. There's probably not a lot in it at all.
Are there any kind of big bills that, well, I suppose there's a number of things, but anything particularly common that clutches or things that something you want to see done in the service history as you're looking for one of these?
I think it's bodywork, and making sure that all the bits are there as well. Because replace if bits are broken or bits are missing and they haven't been replaced, there's a reason why they haven't been replaced. You can't get them. Headlights, we've talked about that. Things like front spoilers, front splitter, anything that breaks uncommonly, they're the bits that are difficult to get. Yeah. So you want to get a complete car. Mechanically, it's just like everything. I think it's all fixable, and the bits are relatively inexpensive as well. But with any old car, any 10-minute job is only one broken bolt, one sheared nut away from being a 3-hour job. So everything just takes that much longer. There's just nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, and I guess it's nice doing some of the work yourself. You can set things up so it's easier next time.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's a case of having a go. I'm saying that I've probably broken more things on it than I've fixed. But
very kind.
It's I'd rather have a go at it, and everything's always fixable and reversible.
Yeah.
But I think by and large, XJSs have got a reputation for being that they're all trouble. I don't think they're any different from any other car of the similar age. Everything of that age is going to rust. Everything's going to have things that go wrong with them, and I don't think XJSs are any worse or any better. And if you buy a car that's been enthusiast owned and has had money spent on it, you know, and genuinely it's got that history where you can see that someone's kept on top of the jobs, I don't think you can go far wrong. And I still think they represent fantastic value for money. You know, they're not expensive in comparison to, you know, I've got this insured for an agreed valuation on it with the insurance company for £12,000.
Yeah, that's...
Which I don't think's a lot of money.
No, it puts it in the realms of attainable classic cars, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And we were talking about fast forwards earlier, what they've done. And,
yeah, you don't get an awful lot of fast forward for £12,000 these days.
No, certainly not. And, yeah, I think I do have fond memories of the Capri. I think I'm enjoying this just as much, and if not a bit more, because it's got the luxury side as well. And you don't really want to be thrashing a classic around.
No, I mean, if you're doing that, you're probably in the wrong car.
Yeah.